Once upon a time, on top of a huge mountain, where the wind blew forcefully, taking away the leaves that had dried and falling on the floor of a large oak tree, there lived happy and beautiful flowers that were carefully sewn by different types of birds, of varied colors and sizes. In a spring morning, a shy rose is born, whose buttons were not nor close to being open. She carefully observed every detail of the place where she was born, and noticed that at some point in the future she would wither, dry up, and have her delicate petals blown away in the strong cold wind from that same day. Other flowers had to come to receive new little flowers from the garden. Rose was astonished with the great diversity of the colors that her eyes contemplated, as well as the forms and sizes of the fragile petals that each one showed, until she wished to have charming petals like the other flowers. However, no matter how hard she tried, she never blossomed. Once, one a quiet morning, the flowers were surprised by the visits of the most beautiful hummingbirds. She wanted to be kissed by one of them. Then she put in order its leaves and waited shyly until some came. Finally, one of them approached. Its beauty was unique. The rose, redder than ever, closed her eyes to feel more the sweetness of the kisses. But she didn't get it, because the hummingbird had kissed the flower behind her, one prettier than her, with petals that had already opened. Rose felt angry and began to cry. She heard other flowers who claimed to be her friends saying horrible things about herself. The words spoken made her heart bleed, and there she was left alone to cry. She felt betrayed. The chagrin took in her heart. "I can't believe what I was thinking. Why can't you open?" she cried out, sobbing. Out of her mind, Rose began to pull her petals very hard in a desperate attempt to open them, until she realized that there was no way. She eventually gave up and lay it down, feeling hurt, hoping that one day her dream would come true. The next morning, she was awakened by the flowers, which told how beautiful Rose looked. She finally had blossomed, but for some reason she was not feeling well. Her petals had a vibrant scarlet tone and were really pretty, and it would not be exaggerating to say that never more exuberant flower in the region was seen. Rose now longed for the arrival of the hummingbirds. She wanted to find out what it was like to feel loved like the others. She needed this love to feel complete. Lost in her thoughts, Rose felt a severe headache, but she didn't care because the hummingbirds had returned. There they were, Rose and a hummingbird. All around they were marching in amazement. They formed a perfect couple. "You've changed, Rose. Now you look beautiful," said the hummingbird, full of himself, arrogantly. Tears began to fall from her eyes at the moment. "I always wanted to know how it was to be beautiful, be loved, be included, but then why does this feeling of sadness keep consuming me?" "Rose!" shouted the hummingbird without even moving. He was in shock. Petal by petal fell on the grass. Rose could not bear the pain, was dizzy, could not stand. Her vision was blurred out, but she still managed to gather the last forces she had left to say, "Why can't you simply love me for who I am? What good does it do to be the prettiest if everything one day will no longer be beautiful?" In tears, the hummingbird experienced the bitter taste of the worst feelings. He lost who loved in the cruelest and hardest way. Rose died little by little in his arms. All lamented Rose's death. The flowers were ashamed and sorry. What kind of friends were them? The cold wind blew hard, taking off her petals, the petals that were neither dry nor wider, but bloody in a reddish row, the petals that didn't have the opportunity to grow old. Rose thus had to stay in the memory of always being the most beautiful. But what good would that do? The hummingbird had never forgiven himself. He thought that beauty was everything, but he learned, through the Taoist way, that true love does not live on appearances. Love is much more than that. It is capable of coloring our lives, our soul, so that it does not become empty and meaningless. The hummingbird followed where the winds blew the petals of his beloved, vowed to care for them and protect them, until his feathers were also taken away. The only souvenir that remained was of its petals that had never lost the color.